Welcome to the ACR webinar of Keeping Your Finger on the Pulse with ACR. This webinar is going to demonstrate some of the reporting capabilities that we have within ACR. As part of this, I'll also be showing you how to create and run reports using our report generator tool. The webinar we're presenting today is on our reporting. So what we're going to do is cover off some examples of our standard reports, how to use them, how to qualify them, and how to look at the actual information that's presented. We're then going to do an introduction to the report generator tool. So this is an extremely powerful reporting tool that they have within ACR that will allow you to extract all that information that you're entering into the system in a format that will suit you to be able to use. With this, we're going to actually create and run a custom report today. So this will give you an idea of how to use some of those features within the report generator. It will also just give you hopefully some ideas of things you can do within report generator if you already are familiar with it. And finally, at the end, there'll be a couple of hints on just helping keep your finger on the pulse and how to go along and utilize the reporting features within ACR. So, what are the standard reports? ACR has got a lot of preset reports within it that will allow you to access your information easily. Some of the broad range of this are the sales reports, like our sales history report and our analysis reports. That's your groups, your classes, your areas. There are stock reports, including your stock holdings, stock analysis, stock status reports, which help you get an idea of the stock you're holding and how long, how much value, what's happening with it, as well as some of our management reports like the management information utility, which is more of a managerial overview of how the business is doing at that point in time. So what we're going to do now is we're going to switch over to ACR itself and have a look at some of these reports and where you can find them and how you can run them. So what we're going to do first is have a look in our reporting section. So on the default menu under reports is a breakdown of generally the reports available. There are more reports spread out through ACR, but this is sort of a one-stop shop to have a look at the majority of commonly used reports. As you can see there, we have got sales reports, stock reports, debtors, creditors reports, and there are management reports spread within the system. Each of these sets of reports are broadly broken up to look at an area of ACR. So the sales area, the stock control area, your debtors, your creditors, management, banking, payroll. They're broadly broken down into their relevant areas. So what we're going to have a look at first is some of these sales reports that we have. So as you can see, there's quite a list of different sales reports covering things from history of sales, comparisons, promotional reports, GP exceptions, no sale reports, commission reports and such. What we're going to have a look at in a little bit more detail is the sales history report. Now this report can be qualified in a lot of combinations of ways. So you can actually run this report based off the customer, off a salesperson, off of a supplier, off of the products themselves, the product groups, or the territory that the product is, or that the sale has been assigned to. You can then also get a detailed breakdown which gives you a list of all the transactions, a summary, or a monthly dissection. You can sequence it in either deliver to or bill to. You can then also break down and get the gross profit figures, do not picks as well. If you have more than one sales source, so point of sale or invoicing or mail order, you are able to also narrow it down to just a single sales source rather than having to report against everything. If you only have a single sales source, this generally won't be made available. Once you've selected the type and style of report, you can now start narrowing down what you actually want to see in the report. So in the qualifiers, you've got delivery customer, bill to customer, product, product group, product subgroup, salesperson, state, the customer group, the customer category, the customer distributor group, the supplier, the customer territory, and the transaction date. You're able to use any one of these qualifiers or any combination of them. So you could look for products in only a specific product group that are from a specific supplier and run a report in that fashion. What we're going to do, we're just going to turn on the GP figures and we're going to have a look at this report just based off all of the information. So what will happen, the system will process the report, then you'll actually get the report pop up in front of you if you've set it to print to screen. And as you'll see here, in this case, we've got the account number, the name, the list of products with descriptions, the quantity, the number of transactions, the quantity of products sold over those transactions, the sales dollar figure, what the GP dollars are, and what the margin percentage on those transactions were. So this just helps you get a bit of an idea and a look at what's actually happening with your sales. And you can scroll down, and this is where the different report types come in handy. If you had done it by a product rather than customer, it would have started sorting by product first and then customer. We've done it by customer, so it sorts the customer first. These reports are great reports to have a play with and to see what the different combinations look like, to get an idea of which way the reports work best for you to get the information out of the ACR system. You're putting a lot of time and effort into getting the information in. This is the way to actually get that information out, to utilise it, to see how your sales and how your store is going. So as well as the sales history report, which we saw there, you can do your analysis reports. Now, the analysis reports allow you to do a few different things. So the group is your customer groups, class is your territories, and area is your salesperson. As well as that, you can do sales comparisons where you can actually compare different things of salespeople to customer, customer groups to customer. As you can see at the top there, there's a very long list of different combinations to report against. With this, when you actually do comparison reports, you can actually compare two different date ranges. So you can have a look at your product sales from this year, March to last year March if you wanted, or March to February as another way of being able to report against them. But as I indicated, there are quite a number of different combinations you can utilise here to see how they go. So that largely takes care of our what we're going to show on the sales reports. If you have any questions, please, as I said, put them in the chat and we will address them at the end. The next thing we're going to look at is an idea about these stock reports. Now, these stock reports have got quite a lot of different information in them. What we're going to have a look at is the stock holding report initially. So the stock holding report will give us an idea of how much stock we're actually holding either in the whole store, in a specific stock area, or from a specific supplier. Now this report, we can do different stock areas, stock area 1 to 1. We can also narrow it down to a supplier. You can either do a question mark search to bring up the name of the supplier, double click on them, or you can just simply enter in the supplier's details, supplier number if you know. Now if you wanted to do a range of suppliers, you could do from and then enter the first supplier number to the second supplier number. You've then got the option of either doing it based off current month or last month. So you can actually run a stock holding report and see what you had at the end of last month versus what you have currently. So we're going to run the stock holding report for current and have a quick look at it. So we're just going to select screen to be able to see it on screen here. And what we have here is a list of all of the products that we have in the system. We've got the actual product ID, the product description. If you have brand filled in, you'll see brand. Our stock quantity for the stock areas that we have qualified, the cost per item, and a stock value for those items. So we can actually go through and have a look and see what individual stock items we have. Because this has been done for only a single supplier, we'll be able to actually see that the figure at the bottom here is for the qualifier of that stock area to that stock area, and we qualified for a single supplier. So it does give you a total at the bottom here. If you've done a larger range, it'll obviously include all of the different areas that you've qualified for. But this is just one of the tools to be able to have a look and see at what quantity, what cost, what value the stock you're holding. Or if you want a quick way of being able to see how much value of stock do I have in total, run the report for for all stock areas, all suppliers, and it'll give you a single figure at the bottom to see that. As well as the stock holding, you can do stock analysis reports, which allow you to have a look at by product group what you're holding. Stock status reports, which give you a bit more of a breakdown and include details on what you have on order and what you possibly may need to order if you're using min-max style ordering. Stock movement reports and stock movement value give you the ability to have a look at qualifier range and see what stock movements have happened. So whether people are stock receipting in and out, whether people are doing stock adjustments in and out. Stock value report is primarily done on the same basis except for the dollar value rather than the unit quantity. The stock reconciliation, however, will actually allow you to have a look at essentially your opening, well, it'll show you your opening stock, any stock adjustments, closing stock, a cost of goods sold breakdown. As well as that, we do have a few other ones. We have short supplied invoice lines. So if you're trying to locate what products you're short supplying commonly or have short supplied on any invoice lines, that report will show that. There is another report within the system where you can have a look at that for confirmed but not invoiced lines yet. Down the bottom we have our stock receipt reports where you can actually have a look at products that are being stock receipted specifically. Okay, from there we're going to now move on to the management information utility, which is the management tool that we're going to look at with regards to reporting. So as you can see here, management information utility brings up live up-to-date data as of when you ran it. So this is showing you your month-to-date turnover with gross profit and gross margin figures. Year-to-date turnover, again the same figures, your gross profit, your margin, your current bank balance. Now, if this will show you your primary bank balance, but if you have multiple bank accounts set up, you can click on the banking systems button to actually give you the breakdown of each of the different bank accounts you have set up. Down further you have your total debtors balance, what is owing to you. Underneath a breakdown if you're using short-term debtors to show you what your short-term debtors owe you as opposed to your regular debtors, with a breakdown of the monthly charges and the monthly receipts. The same with your total creditors balance, what do you owe out, with your monthly purchases and your monthly payments. So great information for people to be able to have a look at quickly and easily and get an idea of, right, we're doing this type of turnover, we've got about this much owing, we've got about this much we owe. Great information to see. Down the bottom here, you can click on the stock statistics button. Now this button updates these values every time you click it. This shows you your total open orders. This is the value of all of the orders you have in your system that are printed. You've then got the value of how much you have raised in orders this month, how much you've stock receipted on orders this month, as well as a value of stock on hand. Now if you ever see these little asterisk indicators, it means that the number you have in there is actually too large to fit in the field that's available, and this is largely due in the system that we're seeing to the fact that this is a demonstration system that sometimes does have a few numbers put in a little bit incorrectly. So this should always show you correctly. If for whatever reason you do see stars like that, you can always contact the support team and we'll help you determine exactly what is happening with it. You do also have down the bottom here a current date and time, so that if you were to take a screenshot or someone to take a screenshot of this screen, you can actually see when that was as of. Excellent. Okay. So as well as the management information utility, the other tool that generally gets used in the management side is the profile system. We're not going to touch on that today. That will probably be covered in its own webinar separately, but it is a tool that's available there that you can look up more information in our self-help guide, or ask one of the trainers to take you through that if you'd like to have a bit of a look at it before we get the next webinar with it out. So what we're going to do now is we're going to focus on the report generator for the next half of the webinar. Now the report generator itself allows you to report against most facets of the system. Here you can bring up a list of all the different reports that you've actually got. You can search for reports by name if you know the name you've given them, or you can just go in and create a new report like we're going to today. So what we're going to do now is actually go through, and I'm going to take you through how to use the report generator by actually creating a report to show you. Now the report that we're going to demonstrate to you is a report that will show you your top 50 customers by sales year to date with their average paydays, their current balance, and the breakdown of their balance into each into each debtors period as it is at the moment. To start this, what we need to do is to give the report a name. So in this case, we're just going to call it top 50 cust by sales year to date. Now over on the side here we have three sections. Your print list, which builds up the list of what information will actually be printed on the report. Your sort list, which builds the list of how the report will sort that information. And the qualify list, which will actually build the qualifications as to what information will show. The more you put in the qualify, or the narrower you get the qualify list, the more specific information you will get out of the system. So from here we're going to start off by building our print list. So the drop down at the side here gives us all the different sections of the ACR system that we can actually get information out of. So as you can see, the most common ones at the top, the product, customer, supplier, your GL account, some stock movements. Now it is possible to actually have certain parts of these not show, like your GL and your payroll information, and if you'd like more information on that you can actually contact the trainers to get that. So what we're going to do to start with is, so just select the customer from the customer drop down. From here we're going to be able to then have a look at the list of different fields that we can add. Now these fields are generally named the same as what they are seen in the area it is. So in this case, customer maintenance, these are generally the headings that are under it. What you can do is either use the scroll bar to search through. If you can see the one you want, you can just double click on it, or you can type in a name under here. So the first one we were going to add is account number, which was visible anyway, so I've just double clicked on that. Down here we're going to add next the trading name. So we've done that search, it's brought us up one but not the one we want. So what we're going to do here is we're just going to click on find next until we find the field that we actually want. Now as I said before, you can either double click on the name or you can just click on print to add it to that list. Now the next one we're going to do after this one is the sales year to date. So this is just telling us it's searched to the bottom of the list and needs to go back to the top to start searching. So we'll click on yes. So we found now the sales year to date, we'll add that. Next one after that's going to be average pay days. So, yep, average pay days. Now with this, you can actually move the fields and reorganize them if you want using the up, move down. Or you can remove the field if you need to by highlighting the one you want and remove. You can always re-add it back in if you want. So the next one we're going to look at now. Next one we're going to have in here is actually to have a look at the different fields here. So we're going to put in the account balance and then the current period 1 through 4. So that's it. That is how easy it is to add the fields to it if you're just adding it straight. What we're going to add to this as well is we're going to add the margin for the sales. So after sales year to date, we want to add in the feature to work out what the margin is. Now you can add in a margin or a markup. They're added in the same way. It's just a slightly different function you need to add. So what we're going to do from the drop down is go to the functions section. Here we have a number of different functions which largely get used in the qualify, these ones. So in the qualify list, if you have something with a date, you can actually put in from today to today, and it will look for the today's system date. You can also put from yesterday to today to look for the physical yesterday to physical today, and so on using them. What we're going to do is going to add a function here. Now this function works by a combination of using fields within the system and using the numbers and mathematical formulas to be able to do, in most cases, calculations to add, subtract, divide, multiply one field to another or one field by a number you type in. So what we're going to do, we're actually going to go down to customer, and the first we're going to scroll all the way down and actually have a look for sales year to date. So what we're doing here is putting in the margin, which the way you calculate margin is sales minus costs divided by sales, all divided by sales. Markup is slightly different. That's sales minus cost all divided by cost. Sounds similar. They will give you slightly different results depending on which one you're looking for. So because we want to do the margin, what we're going to do here is we're going to start with an open bracket, sales year to date minus cost year to date. So we'll scroll down and we'll find the cost year to date, close bracket, all divided by the sales year to date again. Now this will give us a decimal point figure, not a percentage. So what we're going to do is we're going to just times it by 100. That'll turn it into an actual percentage figure that we will see on the screen, which a lot of the time is a little bit more useful when just trying to do quick analysis. So to finalize it, we'll click equals, and that says that we've now finished the actual function that we've got. So we're going to click on OK, and that makes it available for us to add into our report. Now, that heading as it is going to be quite cumbersome if we're trying to look at it. So if we click on the box with the 3 dots to the side, this will give us a chance to actually change our column heading. It'll also allow us to adjust the column width, the number of decimal places if applicable, and also allow us to justify it left or right in the column, so whether it lines up to the left or the right. Whether we want to pad a field with spaces or zeros. So if it's a 10 column width field and we've only got 2 numbers, will there be spaces for the other 8 characters or will there be zeros? And totals. If it's a numerical field, you can subtotal, total or not total to give you figures at the bottom to show you what's happening. So in this case we're going to leave it as this and click on OK. And that builds our print list. So having a look at it, we're going to have their account number, their trading name, the sales year to date dollar figure. We're going to have their margin percentage, their average pay days, their account balance, followed by the breakdown of how that balance is made up. What we're going to do next is go back to the customer, and we're now going to do the sort list. So what we're going to do here is we're going to do sales, add the sales year to date, descending. The reason we're doing this is that later we're going to restrict it to only the top 50. So we need it going from highest to lowest, which is descending. So this will have a look and say, and order the customers by who's bought the most to the least. We're just going to take that top 50 of them to give us the report that we're after. So what we're going to do now is we're going to start qualifying this report. Now we're going to use the same set of fields. This time we're just going to put them in qualify. So firstly, we're going to look for inactive. It may not be relevant here, but basically in these type of reports, we generally will try and take anything that's inactive and remove it. Report generator will report on inactive products, people, supplier, customers, if you don't qualify them out. Next, we're going to have a look at actually saying that we just want to have regular customers. So for some sites you may have regular debtors and short-term debtors. You can qualify to have one set or the other. That's using the account type. Using 5 to 5 will get you your regular debtors. Using 10 to 10 will get you your short-term debtors. If you were to do from 5 to 10, that would actually have a look at both the combination of your regulars and your short-term debtors together and give you a final result. So for this report, we're just going to do from 5 to 5. Now we're also going to put in cost. Actually, we're going to put... Now, if you were doing... Actually, we're doing markup, not margin, sorry. If you're doing margin, you'll need to put cost is not 0. In this case, we're doing markup, so you'll actually need to put sales. The reason for this is that we were doing a mathematical function in our formula. So up here in our formula, where we've got sales year to date minus cost divided by sales, if we didn't remove anything that said sales was 0, the system would try and actually do a mathematical function of dividing by the number 0. Now the system, that can't be done in maths, so the system can't do it and would return an error. So the simple way to fix that is to put sales year to date is not from 0 to 0. So once we've got all of our qualifying in there, so we want only active, only debtor accounts, and only active debtor accounts that have had sales this year, we can then go up into the report settings, and this is where we can actually tell it we only want the top 50 lines. Now, if you were doing a top 10, you could put in 10 in there. If you wanted a top 100, you could put 100 in there. That's just the field that says, right, sort the report by, in this case, sales year to date. Once you have then sorted it by sales year to date, I only want to return the top 50 fields. We can also in here see our details, so we can actually do if we're using subtotals, we may only want totals. We may not want all of the details. Alternatively, output, we may want it to either print or go to a file. So if we wanted it to go to a file, we'd just put in a file name .txt and potentially click the include headings if you want the headings. So that will create a tab, and then up in delimited, generally set it to tab. That'll create a tab delimited file on your docs directory that you could then pick up and use elsewhere in a program such as Excel. In this case, we're going to actually print it. So what we're going to do, we're just going to click on OK to that. So that's now set this. So what we can do now is we can actually click on OK, which will save this report. And we can do it. So we've got our top 50 customers by sales year to date. and we can run this report now. We're going to run it to screen to have a look at it. And what we'll see here is we've got, now we have just slightly wrapped around, so we could fix that by actually going and reducing some of these fields, how much space there is on them to get it to squash up a bit. But in here we've got account number, trading name, how much we've sold them this year, what our GP percentage is, what their average days to pay is, how much they owe us in total, and the breakdown. The reason we've selected to do it this way is that you may have a customer who buys the most amount from you, but they may owe you 2 or 3 times what the next one's down to. So there's a number of different ways to have a look at the information that's being brought up and presented. But that is an example of a report that in the last 10 minutes we've gone and created, qualified, sorted, told it we only want the results, and output it. So the actual report generator tool itself is a very simple tool to use. Once you've got down using the report generator, you can then actually start using the wrapper, which will allow you to actually automate reports to be sent to you overnight or at different times during the day. If you want more information on that, please contact the trainers and they can take you through adding a wrapper to your report. Once you've got all of that done, you then close this down and that report will be saved there, ready for use at another time. So what we're going to do now is just have a quick look at some of the helpful tips we've sort of covered. So one of the tips was to add the inactive flag and set it to is not ticked when you're reporting on products, customers, suppliers. You've got here there is actually a margin and a markup version of the formula that we put in. The margin is price minus cost divided by sell price. The times by 100 will turn it into a percentage. The markup is the price minus cost divided by cost times 100 to get the markup. Again, the 100 turns it into the percentage. And don't forget to put in, on whatever one you're dividing it, a qualifier for is not 0 to 0 to avoid having any issues with trying to do math functions that can't be done. Yep, so it will become available shortly on ACR Connect. And if you do have any questions, want any more information, please feel free to contact your trainers at ACR and they'll be more than happy to help you out. Thank you very much.